Welcome back. Over the past few weeks, our digital anchor, Stephanie Haney, has been exploring the world of egg freezing and how more and more women are turning to this rapidly evolving science to preserve their future fertility options. Well, today, Stephanie looks into the big things to consider, like cost, insurance coverage, and even potential legal issues.
A lot of these insurance companies and a lot of these employers, when it comes to insurance, they view something like egg freezing as optional and not medically necessary.
There's still a long way to go when it comes to insurance coverage for fertility treatments, but fertility lawyer Molly O'Brien says there has been a cultural shift in recent years, starting with companies like Google, Facebook, and Starbucks right here in Cleveland.
There are a lot of employers who are contracting with companies like Carrot or like Progeny, which specialize in adding riders to insurance policy so that people who work for that company can have certain fertility benefits. And in a lot of cases, they really encourage fertility preservation.
But if you're not lucky enough to work for one of those places, you'll have to pay almost entirely out of pocket if you want to freeze your eggs, like Erin Sykes, who has done it 3 times.
90% of it was out of pocket. Maybe some of my blood work was covered under insurance.
And when you have to pay for it yourself, the cost can be a big obstacle.
So the egg freezing is going to range between $10,000 and $20,000, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less.
It's a huge upfront investment, and that's not counting the costs down the road to use frozen eggs to try to start a family.
If you want to use those eggs in the future, then you have to thaw the eggs, you have to create embryos. There's the IVF for the implantation of those embryos. And that cost is exponentially higher. Like you're looking at an additional $20,000 to $50,000.
I think that the number one reason people don't do it, I think it's the expense. I think that it's the single best investment you can really make in yourself. It's not an expense, it is an investment.
Dr. Priya Masalil of Reproductive Gynecology and Infertility says this is still a very new field and things are constantly changing.
Egg freezing is relatively new. It was not an option when I was in medical school to egg freeze.
And that now, many boutique fertility clinics like hers now offer financial advisors to help people find a way to pay for egg freezing.
We always encourage our patients, there's medicine coverage available, there may be some grants available, so we try to access those for patients.
Beyond the cost and coverage, there are legal issues to consider, like whether you want a romantic partner or anyone else to have the right to use your frozen eggs, or in some cases, fertilize frozen embryos.
So you will sign consent forms at a clinic anytime you go into a doctor's office, but there are other documents that you can have in place, like an estate plan for your genetic material, that will govern what should happen in the event of a breakup, in the event one of the partners dies. Can the other partner use those eggs or embryos in the future?
It's also important to make a plan for what you'll do if you never end up using your eggs or embryos.
The number one thing is that if you take the time to do something like this, you can't just drop it. You need to make a decision, because these things do become part of your family's estate.
The important thing is to do your homework and have a plan so you can feel confident in your choices.
Definitely talk to a psychologist, definitely talk to an attorney, and interview more than one physician. You want to make sure that the choice you make is something you feel good about.
Now, as a lawyer, I feel the need to stress here the legal aspect and planning ahead for all possible outcomes, because you do not know what will happen, is very important. And even having gone through egg freezing myself, I learned so much on this topic while reporting these stories. One area that we realize does not get as much attention is fertility and family building options for the LGBTQ+ families. So we'll be exploring the challenges and new opportunities for families of all kinds and sharing their absolutely beautiful stories this Thursday in our special Front Row, A Turning Point at 7 p.m. Romney. So people at home will definitely want to check that one out.
I mean, there are so many facets to this, and it's definitely a hot topic now more so than ever, as more women are more educated and wait later to start families. And certainly with the LGBTQ+ families, they want kids too. So it's a big topic.
It really is, and a lot of different avenues to explore there, and we'll really get into that on Thursday.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.